Right.
You know?
Yeah. So you don't want to be tempted like you do now.
Well, it's not so much being tempted, it's just being around
Namaste,
it.
welcome,
Yeah, it's just not
welcome
as-
to Sacred Celebration of
Fun.
Spirit. Tonight is Reverend
You know.
Mary,
I
or
do
as
every
we like
once
to
in a
call
while.
her, the
I'm
Divine
better
Rev
not
M,
have
who's
control.
going to be doing
I don't have any
tonight's
control if I don't do it.
service. And we're talking tonight, the theme is Contemplation to Celebration. So thank you for joining us, and we hope we don't have any more Wi-Fi issues, but I have to accept the things that cannot change.
That's right.
Right? All right.
Let me do that. Right here. Yeah.
6:30.
Did you guys all get a shaker or a tambourine?
Just wanted to know.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Right? It's like one of those Hindu ones. All right.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for accepting me as a friend on Facebook.
Yeah.
So glad you did.
Oh, yeah.
Did you meet Max? This is Mother. She is 2023, class of 2023.
Oh, namaste. Wonderful to meet you. Yes.
Yeah.
Good thing. What's up, honey bear? Happy day. Okay.
I got a bowl.
Yeah, she got it.
You got a bowl, Matt? You're gonna move this. I know that that's your mark. That chair is your mark.
Max, you got a bowl?
That. You know what I'm saying?
This is my stand here.
I just remember the world's a better place because you're in it. And I just smile.
Watching you till we.
Our call to worship reminds us why we are here tonight, to celebrate, explore, and develop an interfaith experience and join together in sacred celebration of spirit. We welcome you to the Darshan Center for Spiritual Evolution, where our vision is attuned to a higher awareness of oneness. This house of worship is an interfaith and interfaith, sacred space for all people to heal, grow, learn, and develop a spiritual consciousness that celebrates the manifestation of the divine in all things.
And this spiritual community is one of inner faith exploration, embracing all faiths that are affirming and positive, adhering to the highest spiritual goal of be good and do good. The major tenet of this spiritual community is that there is one infinite, all-powerful, all-knowing, ever-present divine source that moves in and around all that is seen and unseen.
We affirm that this divine source is called by many names and is beyond name and form, and we recognize that while there are many paths that lead to enlightenment, each person is on their own personal journey toward the awareness and the understanding of the divine.
We believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and that we are spiritually evolving in this lifetime. We declare that enlightenment is possible in the here and now, and that this enlightenment can offer us joy everlasting. We know that living in the present moment and recognizing the true I am, which is our divine nature, is where enlightenment lies.
And we hope you experience darshan, which is a Sanskrit term for visit with the divine, as a result of this sacred celebration that has been designed for you tonight. We are the guardians of the Darshan Center, and we are so pleased to have you here in Satsanga with us. Please join us now as we celebrate with song. If I were you, I would have turned around and walked away. I would have labeled me beyond repair, 'cause I feel like I'm beyond repair. Oh, but somehow you don't see me like I do. Somehow you're still here. You're the God who stays. You're the God who stays. You're the one who runs in my direction. When the whole world walks away, you're the God who stands with wide open arms. And you tell me nothing I have ever done can separate my heart from the God who stays. I used to hide every time I thought I let you down. I always thought that I had to earn my way, but I'm learning you don't work that way. Oh, 'cause somehow you don't see me like I do. Somehow you're still here. You're the God who stays. You're the God who stays. You're the one who runs in my direction. When the whole world walks away, you're the God who stands with wide open arms. And you tell me nothing I have ever done can separate my heart from the God who stays. My shame can't separate, my guilt can't separate, my past can't separate. I'm yours forever. My sin can't separate, my scars can't separate, my failures can't separate. I'm yours forever. No power of hell can take away your love for me. Will never change. I'm yours forever. 'Cause you're the God who stays. You're the God who stays. You're the God who stays. You're the one who runs in my direction. When the whole world walks away, you're the God who stands with wide open arms. And you tell me nothing I have ever done can separate my heart from the God who stays. You're the God who stays. You're the one who runs in my direction. When the whole world walks away, you're the God who stands with wide open arms. And you tell me nothing I have ever done can separate my heart from the God who stays.
Oh God, oh beloved one, how do we forget so often that you are there waiting with wide open arms? How can we forget that you are staying with us when you've been with us from far before birth and will be with us for always? How do we forget? We are so grateful to come together to remember. We are so grateful to come together to remember Spirit, to remember Holy Spirit, to remember the gift of the Beloved One in each and every one of us present. We are so grateful for our spiritual family, and we are so grateful for the awareness that all we need to do is remember that you are here in every fiber of our being, and that every fiber of our being is within you. Blessed be. Aho, Amen, Ashe. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
This is a reading from Message from the Master. by Swami Tiramindiji. Blessed Self, Adorations. Sit relaxed, meditate upon the Divine Self in the depths of your heart. Feel you are like a lotus, and the Divine Self in the form of your deity is there, shining effulgent in the embodiment of infinite love and sweetness. Feel the radiation of sweetness encompass your entire personality. Divine love radiating from God within your heart is touching every part of your being. Touched by the miraculous power of divine love, feel all the defects of your personality vanish. Your whole personality is sanctified by the presence of the Divine Self. May God bless you. Yours in the Lord, Swami Tiramindiji.
On my bed I remember you, I think of you through the watches of the night. On my bed I remember you, I think of you through the watches of the night. Because you are my help, I sing in the shadow of your wings. My soul clings to you. Your right hand upholds me. Your right hand upholds me. Your right hand upholds me. God, I remember you. On my bed I remember you, I think of you through the watches of the night. On my bed I remember you, think of you through the watches of the night. Because you are my help, I sing in the shadow of your wings. My soul clings to you. Your right hand upholds me. Your right hand upholds me. Your right hand upholds me. God, I remember you.
Namaste. Those of you who have been here for a while know that I really do not ever love autumn. It's never been my favorite season. I didn't like it. Up north, when I was a little girl, I liked it because I loved jumping in the leaves and all the pretty colors. But then as I got older, I started to realize that there was a lot of things that happened in autumn that didn't sit right with my soul. When I was 23 years old, my fiance was murdered, and it was in November. It was the nail in the coffin for autumn for me. It was like, this season sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't think anything's good about this at all. And time went on. And for years, I hated it. For years, I would like ignore the solstice, even though I was a solitary, not the solstice, the equinox. Even though I was a solitary Wiccan, which is it's a big holiday for Wiccans, right? Because it's the time when light and dark are equal.
And then when I was 30, 40 years old, my son was born. He was born, guess what day? On the fall equinox. It was kind of like, they say, if you want God to laugh, make a plan. And my plan was Sean is going to be born in October, but he decided to come a little early. And so God gave me Sean on the equinox. And I gotta tell you, there's been a part of me that since Sean has been born, that's a mixture of the light and the dark. I love him with all my heart, but I gotta tell you, being a parent was absolutely one of the most challenging jobs I have ever had in my life. It's not one where you get to walk away at 5 o'clock. It's not one where somebody else can sub in for you. It is not one that you can say, hey, listen, I just need to take a day off. And so it was a difficult job, but I started to like autumn because I would start to plan in advance for Sean's birthdays. And I was a great birthday person. And by the way, happy birthday, Durga. I loved birthdays. I planned the most outrageous things you can imagine. And I started to really love that time of year. There's 2 spiritual holidays this week. One is, like I said, the equinox. In the Wiccan tradition, it's called Mabon, or Imbolic, and it is the time of year when the seasons, Imbolic itself is when it's an equal. 12 hours light, 12 hours dark. And what happens from now through the end of the year, through Christmas, it gets darker and darker and darker. Every night, it gets darker a little earlier. Every night, it's darker and darker. And this whole season, this whole fall season, is a time of introspection. On the Native American medicine wheel, the West is the place of introspection, and it's also the place of human beings. And so we tend to naturally go into a place of darkness and a place of introspection. Revji found a thing last night or yesterday, and she put it up on the website. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a great little message, and it said, introspection, contemplation, lamentation, and celebration. But I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong. Now, Revji didn't write that, so I'm not calling her wrong. I'm calling whoever wrote it wrong. And the reason I'm calling it wrong is, I don't think that's the way it goes. I really believe it goes introspection, lamentation, contemplation, and celebration. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit tonight. So, as we get older, I'm a therapist, and I work with a lot of clients who are getting near the end of their working career. And there's this thing that happens, it happens in the fall, but it happens also in the fall of our life. So, after our really vibrant summers, when we're starting to go to the other side, I said to my son a couple of weeks ago, I'm middle-aged, and he laughed in my face. Sean is 28. He laughed in my face and he said, Mom, how many people do you know that live to be 120? You are definitely not middle-aged. You are old. You are old. And you know what? I realized he was right. And I looked it up, and I know this stuff, but Erik Erikson said, he was a psychologist, and he said that when we get to that older part of our life, we start to look at our lives. And when we look at our lives, we look at all of the things we've done. We go back and we think about all of our dreams as kids. What were the things we wanted to be? What were the things we wanted to do? And we start to measure whether we did them or not. So sometimes we're really happy and we go, this is great. But a lot of times we are not going, oh, this is great. We're looking at our lives and we're saying, I didn't do this and I didn't do that. It's kind of like in recovery, right? With that 4th step, that really hard one, where we look at the inventory. Nobody wants to look at the bad stuff. Nobody wants to look at that stuff, but we have to. We have to rectify with our shadow. If we don't, we're going to stay in introspection and lamentation. We are not going to move forward. So we do that personal inventory. And sometimes we are our own worst enemy. We look at all the things we've done bad. Now, I don't know about you, but somebody can compliment me 10 times, and they can say one thing, just one thing, that is not complimentary, And what do I hold on to? Do I hold on to the 10 things? No. And I bet most of y'all don't either. I bet you go, oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. Oh my God, if only I. You know, and that's how people get depressed. When we look at the past and we say, if only I had done this, that's what depression is. When we go to the future, we're looking at anxiety. But when we look at the past, we're looking at depression. The other thing that I noticed is, again, in the medicine wheel, the west is night. And in the night, when we get introspective, when we are quiet, when we are laying in our bed, is sometimes when we are our worst enemy. It's the time when we look at our day and we go, oh, I didn't do what I was supposed to do today. I didn't, whatever it is. I didn't give that homeless person money. I rushed out of the store and I didn't hold the door for the lady or whatever. And we beat ourselves up. And when we do that, we are in fear. And fear is false evidence appearing real. And we go into lamentation. We go into that, oh my God, I am obviously not worthy. And I want to tell you, as an interfaith minister, like, we get imposter syndrome sometimes. Because it's not always good. We're still human. We're still in this human existence. We're still in this human form. And sometimes, a lot of times, we make mistakes. And it's really, really hard to go back and say, I'm sorry, when you're supposed to be above or you're supposed to be connected to God. It's really hard to say, I'm sorry. We know we have to do it. Until we do it, we stay in that lamentation. Until we do it, we stay in that place. We feel unworthy, and we start to think about, how much time do I have left? What is it that I want to do with the time I have left? Now, the cool thing is that as long as we have breath in our body, there's still time left. It does not matter. If it's an hour before you pass to the other side, you can step closer to God. And we know if we take one step toward God, God takes 1,000,000. They say 100, but I think it's 1,000,000. God takes 1,000,000 steps to us. It's, you know, you guys know I have this little cat, right? I brought him in like a year ago. His name is Lou, and he's adorable, but he's a little demon. And when he wants something, he comes and he stands near me and he looks up and he meows. And he's got this really funky meow. He goes, meow, 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 meow. And I know that that's Lou's pick me up. And so I pick him up and I hold him and I pet him and I comfort him. And that is what God does with us. All we have to do is lift our arms. And the divine picks us up, scoops us up like a little child, holds us close. And we start to go, wow, this is really cool. And then we go to that song that Rev and Max did so beautifully, you know, the God who stays. And we recognize it's not about what we do. It's not about what we do. It's about the grace that God gives each one of us the opportunity to claim if we want it. Now, the cool thing about God is He doesn't force us to do anything. But if we ask, we will be picked up. We will be held. We will be under the protection of the Lord. You know, when we get to that place where we ask God to pick us up, we move into contemplation. So we've already had the introspection and the lamentation, and we're feeling pretty crappy, and we go, God, pick me up, and God picks us up. And then we start to connect with the divine. And as we connect with the divine, even if we don't feel worthy, God says we are. Michael Murdad is a leader of Unity in Sedona, and he did an amazing lecture years and years and years ago at Center for Spiritual Living, and I happened to go. And one of the things that he said that stuck with me and sticks with me hard is, if you say that you are something that God says you are not, or if you say you are not something that God says you are, that's blasphemy. That's blasphemy, because God created us, so He knows what we are. He created everything. He knows what everything is. He knows our essence. He knows every single part of us. And so if we don't look at what God says we are blaspheming. And so what does God say we are? Well, God says we're a lot of things, but my favorite one is God says we are light. We are light. And so what does that mean? That means that all we have to do is focus inward. We go to our heart chakra. We get quiet, we get calm, we recognize that by the grace of the divine, we are perfectly okay. Nothing is going to harm us. We're fine. We also are the light with other people, right? Because we are God on earth. We are the representatives of God. Welcome, Maru. We had seminary, the first session, and our initiate is here, and I'm very, very happy to have her here. God says we're light. We go into sacred service. Now, you don't have to be a minister to minister. You don't. You each have your own gift that you use to lift other people up. Maybe it's that you make boring lectures sound amazing to your students. Or maybe somebody walks into the salon and says, please cut my hair, and they look awful when they walk in, but boy, do they feel darn good when they walk out. They're amazed. They're like, oh my God, look how good I look. So y'all have your own gifts. We all have our own gifts. The key is to share them. And whenever we share those gifts, whatever they are, we are the light. And you know, it's really funny because you can take a totally dark room and you can take one of those little tea lights that's on the altar, and all of a sudden, part of the room's not dark anymore. And guess what happens? When you have a community, when you have satsanga, good association in Sanskrit, when we have that good association and we have a bunch of lights, it can light up the whole place. The whole room can be lit up because we are willing to be the light for one another. So again, we, until our last breath, can be in that place of contemplation or union with God. Brother Lawrence talks about peeling potatoes with God, washing dishes with God, unio mystico. All we have to do is focus on God. Jesus said in the Bible, whatsoever you do for the least of my brothers, that you do it for me. And so if I am washing the dishes because my kid didn't decide to do them, I'm doing that for God, as well as for my kid. Right? So again, that unio mystico, that contemplation, that connection. So this contemplation reminds me of Miriam. The other holiday this week is Sukkot, and it is a Jewish holiday. And I had to look this up because I don't know that much about it, but it is the harvest festival. Well, that kind of fits. What it is the festival of God taking care of his people through the whole 40 years, not just leaving Egypt. Right? It's the, hey, God gave us shelter. And so our Jewish friends build a sukkah, which is like an outdoor standing tent, kind of, with natural coverings. And they eat their meals outside in remembrance of how God gave them what they needed in the desert for 40 years. So, you know, I started looking at this and I was like, this is pretty cool. And I love that song, Miriam's song, and you're going to hear it in a few minutes. And what I found out was, Miriam, before they left Egypt, knew stuff was going to get real fast. She knew this was not going to be a small journey. She knew that it was going to take some time to get to the promised land. And so what she did was she made timbrels, or tambourines, and she made them and she had them ready to go on the journey. They weren't able to take a whole lot. They were walking. You know, they didn't even know if Pharaoh was going to let them out. They were hoping. So she made these timbrels, and I guess some of her brothers, Aaron and Moses, were kind of like, don't bring junk. Kind of like my son says, why are you keeping this? You don't need this anymore. But Miriam stood fast. She was a rebel, and she stood fast, and she said, no, I need this tambourine. I need this timbrel. And so what happened was, as they walked through the desert, time and time went on. And again, like I said, things got tough. And Miriam knew that if she would sing and dance, she could change the vibration. She went ahead, and when things got really, really bad, she raised her tambourine, and all the women got in line behind her, and they followed her around, singing and dancing with their tambourines. It was a remembrance that we need to stay in contemplation with God, but how do we do that? We do that through celebration. And so, the contemplation and the celebration go together. It's so important for us to have a good time and to laugh and to sing and to dance and to remember the happy stuff, not remember the bad stuff. I know for myself, I cannot hold on to what fall used to be for me. I have to go to what is fall now, and now it is a celebration. As I get closer and closer to getting older, I recognize that eventually I am going to go back to my Creator. And I'm not afraid of that, because I'm developing that relationship now, and so I hope everybody will develop that relationship. You know, many religions use singing and dancing. You know, for those of you who are here, you know kirtan really changes the vibration. We can all come in here down, low, not feeling so good, and Rev starts to play. And she gets faster and faster, and we move. And now we have a bigger space, so we can get up and we can dance a little. And it's amazing. It's amazing how that energy changes. So, the other thing that's interesting with kirtan is, you know, you see the dancing Shiva on the altar. We always think about Shiva as the destroyer, but I don't know if you guys know this. The way that Shiva destroys is to dance. Shiva doesn't take out a sword and cut off heads other than Ganesh's. He dances. He dances and moves time. He moves the energy. And so, we dance with that. We also know that other spiritual practices do this as well. Native Americans have powwows and corn dances where they cry out to the divine, and they dance. And they dance the energy back to connection. And we all know about the Sufis, right? They whirl, they spin. I don't know if you've ever done that as an adult. As a kid, we all do that stuff, right? We spin, and we kind of lose our head. But if we lose our head and we go into our heart, that's perfectly okay. That's exactly what we want. We want to go to the center of our being. So, with that, I hope that you guys all remember that God always stays with us, that we can stay in contemplation and celebration. We don't have to go back to those other places. We have a community to support us. Here we are the light in the dark. And so with that, I would like to ask the clergy to share. Sister Cruz.
Wow, that was awesome, Mary. Thank you for such an inspiring message. It's like, hold on. For such an inspiring message. It was really, I was just in awe of your wealth of knowledge there and inspiring. And I'm so inspired by the life of Miriam. I'm so inspired that she knew the importance of her timbrel. I want to learn more just about that journey. But what I really love is her insistence on the music and recognizing how important that is. And I think that's, for me, it's inspiring because I know, when I go on any kind of demonstration marches or whatever, I like to have a rattle or a drum or something to make noise, and I can kind of really relate to Miriam because I feel like she knew that for this journey to help keep people energized, how important that was. So I'm really going to be thinking about that and just loving, and I do think, I do know in my own experience that contemplation usually does eventually lead to celebration. So thank you very much, Mary. That was wonderful.
Yeah, awesome. That was so interesting and so informative. I, for one, like fall. It's one of my favorite seasons, but I totally, and I think I like what you connected to with the whole recovery thing. That whole introspective, being in darkness, having to go through that darkness to, connect, to be able to pass on. And I think that's really one of such an important spiritual lesson to learn, because a lot of times we get stuck. I know I got stuck. I got stuck for a very long time. And there's courage behind that, but it's weird how through something so dark you connect. Because that's where it happened for me. That's where I connected to spirit. And one of my earliest ways of connecting to spirit was through music, was through singing, was through dancing. And I love that. I love that Miriam story. And I know that if ever I'm in a low place, if I start driving and singing, it's gone. I'm like reborn. It's a new person. And I'm very excited anytime to really talk about that, because I think a lot of people get a little insecure. Maybe, you know, like, I've totally done it. You guys ever been driving, singing real loud, and then you're at a red light, and all of a sudden the person there is like looking at you because you're like melting? That's me. And I would do that. I'd be like, la la la, wasn't me doing it, you know. I do that all the time. But that's, you know, my insecurity, you know, because if I'm doing it for spiritual awakening, if I'm doing it for lifting my vibration, it don't matter if the person next to me is looking at me. What's it to him? Maybe he'll join me in the song. I don't know. But just thank you for this lovely remembrance, and I'm very happy that you have a different perspective on the fall.
Thank you so much, Reverend Mary. Great reminder, as always. And, you know, I have a hard time with the contemplation piece. I think that my mind, I don't know, my mind is like a very, very poorly trained horse. Like, I've talked about this before, where you go on a trail, and the first thing that they tell you on the trail is don't let the horse eat any of the grass. Because if you do, then the horse doesn't understand, you know, that it's got a job to do, you know. And Swami Tiramindiji has also said this in one of his books. My mind wanders. I have a hard time staying focused unless I'm working. Now, if I'm working, then I'm totally immersed, I'm totally focused, I'm totally concentrating. But if you're going to tell me, like, meditation, like 11-step stuff, like that to do a meditation, it's almost torturous for me. That's my mind. It's terrible. It's a monkey mind. It's all over the place. But when I sing and when I listen to music in the car, especially on my way to work in the morning, throw on Josh Aaron or some kind of like praise music, and I immediately am in that contemplation celebration. It's really all about remembering. The bottom line is it's all about remembering. And however you get there, you know, there's a lot of tools in our toolbox, in our spiritual toolbox. So it doesn't really matter which tool you use. If you're, you know, friendly and familiar with the pliers and not friendly and familiar with the screwdriver, so be it. You know, for me, it's music. And that's where I connect. That's where I plug in. And it's in that contemplation to celebration that I feel transformed. Thank you.
So we want to give you the opportunity to change the vibration. What I'm going to ask you to do is to bring your tambourine or your shaker or whatever it is, follow Sister Chris. She's going to go up to the altar. She's going to take a candle. I want you to choose one to take home. And we are going to dance and change the vibration. So please follow Sister Chris.
Take a candle and follow.
And the women dancing with their candles. Oh, Miriam, as we sing a song, sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women dance and dance all night long. And the women dancing with their candles. Follow Miriam as we sing a song, sing a song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances for the light. Woo! And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one that we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. When Miriam stood up on the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, we would pass to freedom, march to the promised land. Woo! And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one that we've exalted. Miriam and the women dancing all night long. And Miriam the prophet took a timbrel in her hand. All the women followed her, just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one that we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. Woo! And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one that we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. Miriam and the women and dance the whole night long.
Oh, that felt good, didn't it?
Yeah.
Woo! Thank you.
Excuse me while I catch my breath. Beloved spiritual family, we are so blessed and honored that you feel like you can come to us as your home. We are so grateful to have you as a community, that you come each week, whether in person or tuning in. We love to do this. And we thank you. Because of you, we get to do this. And also because of your abundance that you supply us with, do we get to do this. We're going to be passing a basket around, and we ask that you please give what you can. Whatever is in your hand is the exact amount that you are supposed to give. And even if you don't have anything of numerical currency on you, please place your hand over the basket and give us your divine love for this future of this amazing spiritual community. And there you can also donate on paypal.me/Darshan Center. You can Cash App at #Darshan Center 840 or Venmo at @Darshan Center 840.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to good Debbie. Happy birthday to you again. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to good Debbie. Happy birthday to I am alive. I am alive. I'm alive. And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? If not the Holy Blessed One. I am alive. I am alive. I'm alive. And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? If not the Holy Blessed One, I am alive. I am alive. I'm alive. And who is this aliveness I am? Who is this aliveness I am? And who is this aliveness I am? If not the Holy Blessed One.
So, thank you. Who knew that blowing out a candle in the time of COVID, I'm looking for my mic, we're gonna...
Good idea. Did you do that? Did you think of that? That was excellent.
She said no.
Good. Wow. An ambassador, an ambassador, an ambassador.
I just want to let people know that we're going to have we'll serve these outside after when we walk out. And for you all to know, and I'll say it again, and I saved the ingredients, these are 100% vegan.
Vegan.
And you say vegan, I say vegan. So we'll have them. We're going to have them after when we walk out. Thank you. I'm very honored, and I'm very grateful for everyone.
Well, we are very grateful for you, Durga Devi, because I don't know if anybody knows, but you are the oldest member of Darshan. Now, not oldest like in age, but you have the most seniority. You have been following us since we were at the Oneness Temple in Hollywood at the Serenity Room. Serenity by the Sea. No, not by the sea. What am I talking about? I'm slipping into a coma. Serenity Room. And just a dear, dear seeker and a dear follower, and we are just so grateful to have you as part of our family. You have no idea how much you mean to us, so happy birthday. God bless you. Many, many more. Who's got the announcements? That'd be me. Okay, so we got two really good things that are coming up. October 22nd. Well, first of all, could everybody please pray for me? Think about me October 1st. I'm having my surgery on my shoulder in New York. And I'm not nervous about it at all. It's just, remember what I told you about, you know, I can't like stay still. So it's going to be very hard for me to stay still. The next time you see me, I'll be in a sling, and we're going to have to do the best we can without, you know, the guitar for at least 4 weeks. So keep me in your prayers, please, October 1st. And then there's no issues with delays of flights and this and that, because I have to go to New York. So we want to make sure that we get there safely and everything is good to go and come home safely. So that's number one. Number two is October 22nd. It's a Friday at 7 o'clock. Our dearest friend, Reverend Opal Murray, who wrote the book, Yes, I Am, is going to do a book signing and a book reading here. It's a free and open to the public, not even a love donation, unless, of course, you're moved to give us a love donation. But I'd rather you take the money. I'm not sure how much the book is. I'm imagining it's not expensive. But I'd rather you take that money and give that money to Opal and buy the book. So that's October 22nd at 7. And then October 29th is, guess what? Cinema, Darshan Cinema. And we're going to select a chosen episode from The Chosen. I think from probably season 2. Not sure. But we have to still discuss it. Oh, I'm sorry.
And you know what's on October the 8th?
What is October the 8th? It's your birthday. Ah, awesome. Well, we won't be with you on your birthday, but happy birthday to you in advance. So October 29th, mark your calendar, so that's 2 Fridays in a row. And that, it is a love donation. Whatever you can, offer to give helps keep the lights on and whatnot. So that's October 29th at 7 o'clock. That's all I got. Yeah? Something else? Oh, wait, there's something else.
What about the...
Oh my God, yes, Sister Chris. Come on, Sister Chris.
Oh!
The green thing.
The green thing.
Oh, yeah. Is it not, you didn't have it on the announcement?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
No, it's not my fault.
That's my fault. Okay.
I don't know, you all got the newsletter, but we're doing an Action for the Earth. We're doing a rally, and this is October 17th.
Yeah.
So we get October 17th. On that Saturday, we're going to meet here at 4 o'clock, and we're going to we're going to be having created Earth. We really want to address the climate change. We really want to address the heating of the Earth. We want to address the fact that the UN is going to be meeting 2 weeks after that date, October 17th, October 18th, and are looking at some really important measures to reduce, the fuel, carbon heating. And so we want to do an action. So before that, we will be doing announcements every week. We will have a sign making, banner making workshop here before, and we'll definitely let you know more. The other thing is that Rev G started drafting a proclamation that we want to issue as Darshan to support the national organization and the local organization.
You could also be using your microphone so they can hear you online as well.
Well, now I'm at the end of my talk, so. Do you need me to repeat it? Or?
No, just October 18th is the Sacred Celebration of Spirit, right? That we want everybody to come to. And the day before, the Saturday, is when we're going to do the action. Yeah? So just mark your calendar, October 17th, and that's going to be at 4 o'clock Saturday, and October 18th. Sacred Celebration as usual, 6:30, but we're going to be doing a special call to worship, walking all the way to Oakland Park Boulevard.
And we're going to dance with our timbrels
won't be 20
all
minutes.
the way.
If we have time.
If we have time. If we have time and it doesn't take us an hour to walk back from Oakland Park Boulevard, we'll have service.
Okay, so let us pray. Mother God, Father God, Great Spirit, we thank you for the opportunity to be here in this community. We thank you for satsanga. We thank you for all of the lights that sit in this room. We know that we'll carry these lights out into the world this week. We thank you for helping us to stay in contemplation, connected to you, whether we're peeling potatoes or walking to Oakland Park Boulevard. We know that we can celebrate because you got our back, and we are never alone. We thank you so much, God. There is none like you.
Please stand and dance.
One who rides the raging storm, the one who walks upon the sea. Earth and heaven are your own, yet you're watching over me. How majestic is your name, 'cause there is none like you. There is none like you. Together we proclaim the power of your name. There is none like you.
Who can stand before your throne? Your kingdom will forever reign. We will sing a song of praise to the Ancient of Days, 'cause there is none like you. There is none like you. we proclaim the power of your name. There is none like you. How majestic is your name. How majestic is your name. How majestic is your name in all the earth. How majestic is your name. How majestic is your name. How majestic is your name in all the earth. Woo! There is none like you. And Kamocha Adonai. There is none like you. And Kamocha Adonai. Together we proclaim the power of your name. There is none like you. There is none like you. And Kamocha Adonai. There is none like you. And Kamocha Adonai. Together we proclaim the power of your name. There is none like you. Majestic is your name.
Namaste, everybody. Beautiful. Thank you for joining us. We will see you
Tune in next week.
hopefully if the clergy can do it. Hopefully they can do it. Hopefully they can, right, clergy?
Tune in next week for the best service ever.
That's right. Reverend Max is doing it. But we'll hope that there's no problems with the technology.